Hello and welcome to First Post America. I'm Eric Ham and we're reporting from Washington, D.C. And over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the U.S. and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, here's a look at the latest global headlines. Senior Ukrainian officials visiting the United States report meeting with representatives from weapon manufacturers that produce Tomahawk missiles. Arms President Donald Trump has indicated he may supply to Kyiv. China hits back at the U.S. saying trade wars have no winners, a day after President Donald Trump raised the possibility of halting cooking oil imports from Beijing. Stocks jump and the dollar retreats as trade war fears fade after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell suggested that the central bank would cut interest rates again before the end of this year. Seoul imposes travel bans on certain regions of Cambodia following the torture and killing of a South Korean college student who was lured into the country by a scam ring. And former Prime Minister of Kenya and opposition leader Raila Odinga dies at the age of 80 during a health visit to India. He was at the forefront of Kenyan politics for more than 3 decades and made 5 unsuccessful presidential runs. We begin today in the Caribbean, where the United States has carried out another deadly strike against a vessel off the coast of Venezuela, killing 6 people. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump described the boat as belonging to narco-terrorists and claimed it was trafficking narcotics. He also shared an aerial surveillance video showing a small vessel being hit by a missile and then engulfing in flames. Now, this strike marks the 5th of its kind by the Trump administration since September, bringing the total reported deaths to 27. However, the U.S. has not provided evidence or disclosed the identities of the vessels or the people on board.
A lot of drugs are coming out of Venezuela. A lot of Trinidad. They're trying to get up, but we're stopping them successfully at the border. And we don't like what Venezuela is sending us, whether it's their drugs or whether it's their gang members. We don't like it. We don't like it one bit.
Now, the Pentagon has not released further details on the strike, though the defense official confirmed that the basic facts of the president's post. The strikes followed a leaked memo to Congress in which the administration claimed the U.S. is in a non-international armed conflict with drug cartels. Officials say this framing could allow the government to justify extreme wartime powers, including targeting suspected traffickers without them posing an immediate threat. Legal experts in neighboring countries, however, have questioned the strikes. Colombia has repeatedly condemned the action and argued that targeting boats in international waters could breach international law.
Of course, but it is the U.S. who have killed them, so they are the ones who have provided the names. I asked an American official, can you list the names of those who have been killed on the boats that cross the Caribbean? It doesn't fall on us, it falls on them. If they can't list them, it's because they have never known who and what were being transported on those boats, and to whom.
Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, frustration grows across party lines. Democrats argue the strikes violate U.S. and international law. In fact, a recent Senate resolution aimed at limiting the president's authority for such strikes failed to pass. Now the strikes have also drawn sharp criticism from Venezuelan officials. And the president of Venezuela's National Assembly and close ally of President Nicolas Maduro accused the U.S. of using false claims as a pretext for possible aggression.
The real intention is not drug trafficking. The real intention is action against Venezuela. That the real intention is to threaten Venezuela, and that the ultimate intention, the ultimate goal, is to take control of the natural resources of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Now, President Maduro has continually denied U.S. accusations of drug involvement, claiming that Washington was pressing for regime change.
Donald Trump.
Mr. President Donald Trump, you must be careful because Marco Rubio wants to stain your hands with blood, South American, Caribbean, Venezuelan blood. In us, you will always find a friendly hand for peace, for development, for independence, for dignity, and with respect. The pursuit of regime change is exhausted and has failed as a policy worldwide.
As the situation develops, the legality, effectiveness, and political consequences of the strikes remain deeply contested. And with U.S. forces actively targeting vessels in international waters, the Caribbean could become a far more dangerous theater than anyone possibly imagined. On Tuesday, President Donald Trump met with his Argentine counterpart, Javier Milei, at the White House and publicly reaffirmed his support for his re-election bid. However, President Trump also appeared to threaten the withdrawal of U.S. assistance to Argentina if the country's internal politics do not align with Washington's interests in its upcoming elections. During a meeting with President Milei, President Trump said that while the U.S. wants to see Argentina succeed, it would not waste time if a far-left government were to take power.
We're going to work very much with the president. We think he's going to win. He should win. And if he does win, we're going to be very helpful. And if he doesn't win, we're not going to waste our time because you have somebody whose philosophy has no chance of making Argentina great again.
He also described Milei's opponent as extremely far left and claimed that such a philosophy had contributed to Argentina's current economic problems.
If the president doesn't win, I know the person that he'd be running against, I believe, probably. We probably have the person. A person is extremely far left and a philosophy that got Argentina into this problem in the first place. So we would not be generous with Argentina if that happened. If he loses, we are not going to be generous with Argentina.
Now, Argentina is scheduled to hold its legislative midterms on October 26, which are widely viewed as a referendum on Milei's economic reform agenda. The Trump administration has already pledged $20 billion in financial assistance to stabilize Argentina's struggling economy. However, that commitment appears to now be conditional. President Trump also went on to publicly endorse Milei in the midterm elections. And sitting beside the Argentine leader at the White House, President Trump said he was offering his full endorsement and expressed confidence that Milei would, in fact, win.
It's an honor to have you here. And I just want to tell you that your career has been an amazing one, and it's going to continue with the election. You're going to win the election. We're going to endorse you. I'm going to endorse you today. Fully endorse you. And, people in Argentina like me. A lot of people like me.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who was present in the meeting, also expressed optimism about President Milei's prospects.
We're confident that the president's party will and the coalition will do well in the election, and this aid is predicated on robust policies, and going back to the failed Peronist policies would cause a U.S. rethink.
For his part, President Milei thanked President Trump for his support and blamed Argentina's current liquidity problems on what he called political attacks from his opponents.
I also want to congratulate you for that work and for understanding the threat that 21st century socialism represents around the world, and especially in Latin America, the work of Marco Rubio. And I also want to deeply thank Secretary Bessent for the enormous effort he has made to help overcome the liquidity problem Argentina faced as a consequence of the political attacks we have suffered from our opponents.
The meeting between the two leaders comes at a time when Argentina is facing serious financial instability with rising unemployment, slowing economic activity, and declining investor confidence. Now, amid these concerns, President Trump's remarks have drawn strong reactions in Argentina. Former Argentinian President Cristina Fernandez, who leads the opposition Peronist movement, criticized President Milei's comments on social media. The Trump administration has also taken steps in recent weeks that have raised questions about its involvement in Argentina's domestic affairs. After President Milei's party suffered losses in a local election last month, Washington intervened in Argentina's currency markets to help stabilize the peso, a move rarely seen in U.S. foreign policy. Argentina's relationship with the U.S. has become increasingly important as the country continues to navigate its economic crisis. And it remains to be seen how his endorsement and the implied threat to withdraw aid will influence the outcome of Argentina's polls and shape the future of relations between both countries. And staying in the White House, President Donald Trump on Tuesday awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States, posthumously to Charlie Kirk, the far-right activist who was killed in a shooting at Utah Valley University last month. The ceremony took place in the White House Rose Garden on what would have been Kirk's 32nd birthday. Introducing the award, President Trump called Kirk a warrior for liberty and said that he was entering the late conservative activist's name into the roster of true American heroes.
Today we're here to honor and remember a fearless warrior for liberty, beloved leader who galvanized the next generation like nobody I've ever seen before, and an American patriot of the deepest conviction, the finest quality and the highest caliber, the late, great Charlie Kirk.
The president said the country still feels the shock of Kirk's death, calling him unstoppable and one of a kind. Now, Erica Kirk, who now serves as CEO of Turning Point USA, the conservative youth organization her husband Charlie Kirk founded, accepted the award with an emotional speech.
I'll share with you that I asked our daughter what she would like to say to Daddy for his birthday. Excuse me. She said, "Happy birthday, Daddy. I want to give you a stuffed animal. I want you to eat a cupcake with ice cream, and I want you to go have a birthday surprise. I love you," is what she said. And while our son is precious, he can't yet speak, in classic Kirk family fashion, his actions spoke louder than his words, and his gift to you.
And Charlie Kirk had become one of the most influential conservative figures of President Trump, known for strongly supporting the president's re-election campaign in 2024. Thus, his assassination in September prompted widespread condemnation across the country. The Trump administration and Kirk supporters have targeted people for their comments about the slain activists. In fact, on Tuesday, the U.S. State Department announced that it had revoked visas for 6 foreign nationals accused of making derogatory remarks about Kirk's assassination online. In a statement on X, the department said the United States has no obligation to host foreigners who wish death on Americans. The post included examples of people from several countries along with screenshots of their comments. And the announcement came amid a wider crackdown on foreign nationals under the Trump administration. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio had earlier said that visa holders could face revocation for comments related to Kirk's death. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau earlier urged people to report such posts to immigration authorities. And since 2019, visa applicants have been required to disclose their social media handles, but in June this year, the administration expanded the rule to require all international students to make their social media accounts public. Officials have also said that the government is reviewing the status of more than 55 million visa holders to ensure compliance with what it called American standards. President Trump has also repeatedly linked Kirk's killing to what he described as a rise in political violence from the left. The political fallout from his death and the government's response to it is only deepening. With visa reviews expanding and online speech coming under sharper scrutiny, questions are now being raised about where the line, in fact, will be drawn between national security, political loyalty, and personal freedom in the months ahead. If you thought world peace was the biggest headline, think again. U.S. President Donald Trump has found a new global emergency, and it's sitting right on top of his head. After Time magazine featured him on its cover for brokering the Gaza ceasefire, Trump isn't celebrating. Instead, he's furious about his missing hair. What started as a diplomatic win has now turned into a hair affair. Here's more.
Move over, Middle East peace. There's a new international crisis brewing, and it's hovering somewhere above Donald Trump's head. The U.S. president, fresh from brokering a Gaza ceasefire that earned him rare bipartisan applause and even a glowing Time magazine feature, has shifted his diplomatic energies to a far graver issue: his missing hair. On October 14th, at the decidedly presidential hour of 1:36 a.m., Trump logged into Truth Social and blasted Time magazine. His complaint: The publication's November 10th cover, which hailed his Gaza peace efforts as his triumph, apparently made his famous mane vanish. Trump thundered online by stating that the magazine wrote a relatively good story about him, but the picture may be the worst of all time. He continued by writing that they had disappeared his hair and then had something floating on top of his head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Yes, in a week where global leaders praised Trump for securing peace in Gaza, the president was busy pondering why his crowning glory looked more like a malfunctioning halo. The image, shot from below with sunlight radiating behind his head, was intended to convey a triumphant look. California's Governor Gavin Newsom wasted no time joining the fun, reposting the cover with Trump's neck pixelated. Even Russia's foreign ministry felt compelled to weigh in on Telegram, calling Time's artistic choice astonishing, and accusing the magazine of being run by unhealthy people obsessed with malice. And, of course, social media did what it does best, turn the whole thing into a digital roast. One user compared Trump's vanishing hairline to Joe Biden's. Another quipped that the president seemed far more invested in his hairline than in the peace line. Someone simply cut to the chase and called him a clown. And a particularly savage commenter observed that while Trump may have secured peace in the Middle East, he's clearly losing the war on hair one strand at a time. To be fair, Trump's hair has long been the subject of literary analysis. Vanity Fair once likened it to a dead, furry lobster. The New York Times once dubbed it his mood ring, and the New York Post had called his hair bizarre. For now, the president remains on top, both in leading the peace talks and, presumably, his stylist's speed dial. And as the world wonders whether the Gaza truce will hold, Trump's followers know one thing for sure. Nothing on earth, not Hamas, not Netanyahu, not Time magazine gets between Donald Trump and his hair. History may remember Trump's Middle East peace deal as a landmark diplomatic victory. But Trump himself? He'll remember it as the time dared to mess with his hair and lived to tell the tale.
And finally, when hotel prices in Singapore soared higher than the F1 race cars roaring through Marina Bay, one couple decided to trade five-star luxury for an airport floor. Their night at Changi Airport, armed with blankets, neck pillows, and determination, became a viral tale of budget travel and a lightning rod for public outrage. As locals debated whether the world's best airport had turned into a makeshift hostel, travelers worldwide watched with fascination. Is this frugality or folly? The lines are blurring fast, and the sleeper village at Changi might be the beginning of a new travel trend. Our next report explores.
When hotel prices in Singapore skyrocketed during the Formula One Grand Prix weekend, one visiting couple from the United States decided to do something unconventional: trade luxury lodging for linoleum FLOs. What began as a desperate attempt to dodge exorbitant rates soon became a viral story about frugality, comfort, and the limits of hospitality at the world's most celebrated airport. The couple shared their experience of spending the night at Singapore's Changi Airport on TikTok, which has been crowned the world's best airport for 13 consecutive years by Skytrax. Their decision came after discovering that rooms near the airport cost as much as $400 a night, double the usual weekend rates of under $200. With the Formula One festivities turning the city into a playground for the superfast cars, their overnight stay in Terminal 1 became both a survival tactic. They wandered through the terminal before discovering the arrival garden, a lush indoor space that, on that night, transformed into what they dubbed the Sleeper Village. Around 30 other travelers had already staked their claims, some on benches, others on the floor, all seeking a few hours of rest before morning flights. With blankets, neck pillows, and luggage by their side, the pair settled in, trading the comfort of a hotel bed for the hum of travelators and distant flight announcements. By morning, the experiment had saved them hundreds of dollars, but also earned them unexpected notoriety. Singaporeans, known for their pride in Changi's immaculate image, were far from impressed. Many accused the couple of treating the airport like a bedroom, warning that such behavior could tarnish Changi's spotless reputation. Still, not everyone condemned the travelers. Some locals chimed in with helpful advice, suggesting that they could have used Changi's free nap lounges, or even chosen Terminal 3, known among frequent flyers as a quieter, more comfortable option for long layovers. In fact, some even mentioned that security tends to be lenient after ensuring they have a flight ticket. For all the controversy, the story also reignited fascination with Changi's remarkable amenities, a testament to how the airport itself has become a destination. Beyond its efficiency and polished design, Changi boasts an indoor waterfall at Jewel, 2 cinemas, an extensive shopping center, a butterfly garden, and even a rock climbing wall. For many travelers, it's a place where layovers become leisure. Yet, the debate over whether the couple's act was resourceful or disrespectful remains unresolved. Their night of modest adventure has, ironically, spotlighted both the airport's allure and the fine line between traveler ingenuity and public decorum.
That's going to do it for us today. And from all of us here at First Post America, we certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for watching.